Hi YouTube, this is another video from the photography team and I'm Ben. Haven't been on the channel for a little while, life's just been absolutely crazy. So I thought I'd managed to get 5 minutes. I'll sit down and sort of do a bit of an update as to what I've done with regards to moving from Fuji to Sony, what I've gone for initially with the Sonys, and what the differences I'm already noticing are. So let's get into that. Okay, so what I want to talk about is my move from Fuji to Sony, what I've gone for, why I've gone for it, and a little bit about what I've already noticed difference-wise between Fuji and Sony. This ain't going to be an in-depth review, an in-depth move or anything. It was kind of an update from me. I've got the Tamron 28 to 75mm f2.8, currently filming with that. I surprised myself when I decided to go for a zoom. When we initially went to Fuji, I was right, time to go primes, love my primes, sharpness. But I just felt that, why not? Got a full frame, the depth of field is different. Let's have a look at a nice zoom again, and the Tamron is really living up to it. It's really sharp, the AF is incredible, but I think I'm going to say that for a little while, just moving from Fuji to Sony. The Tamron supports IAF and things like that on the Sony, so really good. Currently recording on it now. It's just really sharp, and it gives me a flexibility I've not had for a long time. You know, I can grab from 28mm to 75mm really quickly, and it's going to be a difference again at weddings. I've been either with the Fuji, I was 16mm, or I was 56mm, which is 24 to 85mm. The other one I went for was sorry, my computer's going in the save. The 85mm Sony 1.8. Nathan's got this as well. Amazing lens, very sharp, and actually pretty cheap, really. Nice little lens as well. One of the reasons we went mirrorless was to go small. Admittedly, the Tamron's not the smallest thing, but actually it's not bad for a zoom. And thinking that we're now covering a full frame sensor, they're going to be bigger anyway. The A7 III itself, it's lovely, really nice. It's taken a little while to get used to, as will anything. You've got a lot of customization with these bodies. There's a lot of buttons to get used to, muscle memory from going from the Fujis, and a very dial and analog type of feel to it with aperture rings, and that is taking a little time to get used to, but it's certainly not too bad. And I think I've got this now, and proofs in the pudding and doing some shooting really. I've got a small little party to shoot this weekend, which I'm going to be taking obviously both of these to, so we'll see what happens there. So when it comes to actually the differences, let's talk about a big one straight away that we've both noticed, me and Nathan, and that's these things. The batteries on these are phenomenal. These are called the NP-FZ100s, and they just keep going and going and going. And Nathan, when we first got one of the Sonys, Nathan was shooting a whole entire wedding, and he never had to change it, and it didn't even get close to kind of running out, I don't think. And when you look at the size difference, I've still got some Sony batteries over here. Yeah, it's bigger. It's got to be. But it's not too much bigger. And it's lasting a heck of a lot longer. Yeah, there's definitely a weight difference there. So what would you rather do? Just chuck this in and keep going and not worrying about it? Or carry maybe 2 or 3 of these if you don't use a battery pack, which we ended up not doing. We didn't use a battery pack. So I certainly know where I'm now preferring, certainly going for one of these as opposed to a few of these, which I used to have a bag full. I've still got a load sitting here. Certainly loving these batteries. We've definitely got spares. You've got to have spares if you've got a heavy weekend to shoot in or something like that. But these are lasting a long time, and we're absolutely loving it. On the thing of batteries, one thing I don't really like is the fact that you don't get a charger. Where these the Fujis, you used to get the battery charger, slip it in, it had an indicator light that you knew when it was charged and what have you. These you charge via the USB, so the battery goes in, plug the USB in, and it charges like that. I don't really like that. Convenience, possibly, you know, you're just there, it's there, but I like to take the battery out, and I kind of like to have a visual indicator to say, yeah, my battery's charged, it's not charged, and even possibly having some type of level indicator to say it's half charged or not half charged or things like that would be great, but there we go. So there are little of annoyances. Is the battery is amazing in comparison, but I prefer to have my battery charger back, and you don't get that with Sony. You have to charge it through the body. A battery charger is separate, and I have now ordered a double one, which isn't Sony, but just so I can charge, you know, two batteries in one go at the same time, and charge them away. You know, I have my sort of office here is away from my house a little bit, so to be able to bring my gear back in and keep it safe inside the house and charge my batteries like that. These normally get charged when it's attached to the computer. So yeah. Other annoyances and other differences. I love Fuji for having those analog dials. To be able to set up the Fuji and have the aperture ring and the dials was great. It was fantastic, and the muscle memory of doing that and quickly changing aperture was absolutely brilliant. And that's what I'm finding probably most difficult moving with Sony at the moment, is my muscle memory wants to go back to an aperture ring and things like that. So perhaps it's more of a learning rather than an annoyance or a difference. It's more just muscle memory and moving on. The Sony menu system is very intense. There's a lot in there. To say it's confusing and complicated, not really. I really don't think it is. I think it's just a case of being sensible and using your noggin a little bit and going in there and reading it. They provide a user manual. I've read it. It's not great. But there's, you know, YouTube, there's a lot of resource out there. If you want to find out what your camera does, just go and have a look, go and have a search. And that's what, you know, we've had to do that. You know, we're new to Sony, so the menu system is not something we've been used to. So we're having to dig around and find out what this means and what that does and things like that. So it's certainly a little bit daunting, but actually little things like going into the menu system, changing something, coming out of it, pressing menu and it's still in the same place. That is lovely, you know, because you can kind of flip between settings in there and then see what they do. Where the Fuji used to go into a menu system, come out of it, press menu, and you're back to where not where you were, but back to the start again. And you'd have to kind of filter your way down. So that's great. The customization, and I think that is why there is so much in the menu system, is amazing. You can set your camera up to how you want it. It becomes your tool. And if you want to shoot in a certain way and have buttons in a certain area, you can set it up that way. So that's where I think moving from that dial, I know where everything is, to then actually putting it where I want it, I think I've got to learn the camera, and eventually I'll probably prefer it because it'll be where I want it, not having adapted to where it was given to me. So yeah, really looking forward to getting really stuck in with these and learning everything about them. One of the other things we've done is we have the Spider holster hand straps. It's a safety thing for us. You know, you kind of put your hand in. If you don't have that and someone knocked you, this for us is just a safety thing. And these adapters here, we have the Sony ones in the kit when we bought them, but they've actually brought out an adapted version for the new Sony bodies. So if you've kind of gone to Sony's, or you're thinking, I'm with Fuji and I want to go to Sony and I was using them and they don't fit, contact Spider, and they can send you some new ones. And Interfit is the UK distributor, and they sent us some new ones. I think for 4 delivered we paid about 11 quid, and it allows you to open the battery door still and things like that. So well worth doing if you use the Spiders. It's taken us a little while to move to Sony, purely because they've been so popular. I've been waiting I've only picked up the 85mm today, and that's from Wex in the UK. And we live really close to the main Wex headquarters and have a good relationship with them. You know, they're on our doorstep, and they've only just got these in today, and it's been a wait. It's been a good few weeks for this to come into stock. So we've done this over a transition where we knew we were going to have a holiday period ourselves, so it's not been too impactful. But if you are looking to go to Sony, keep that in mind, that they are really popular at the moment, so you may not get that availability. I suppose one thing, just to kind of wrap this up, is we've definitely moved to using Godox, and Nathan done a video about the fact that don't throw away your old flashes. You know, if you're moving from Fuji to Sony, for example, like we did, they can still work. And I used to have the Nissins, and we've got an old video about Nathan using Godox, and I was still on Nissins, but I've now moved to the Godox, and these little TT350s are great little flashes, and they are small. They're not the most powerful thing in the world, but the low light and ISO capability of these is certainly pushing us to use more natural lighting. This is my little fill tool, but also it's going to be our master controller. So when we're doing first dance setups and things like that, this will be our master controller to control the rest of them. So that is great for us. Last thing to say, I think, as probably most YouTube channels have mentioned, is Nikon, however you're going to pronounce it, and their Z, or how they want it pronounced, Z series cameras. I was a little dubious when we jumped to the Sony, thinking Nikon around the corner coming out with their mirrorless, and they would be foolish in my mind to bring out something that was not on par with what Sony were putting out. And I'm glad I went Sony, I think. The Z series cameras do look good. They've got to. They can't be useless. There'd be no point in them making them. But things like the dual card slots, the amount of AF points that this has got, the lenses available for the Sony, it's just the right foot to go on when we've moved. I should think iteration maybe 3 of their Z series, a bit like this, I suppose, as the Mark III, is probably where you want to start looking at it. And again, like this, we've moved to this on the Mark III. So for me, and I suppose for us, Nikon was only there as I wonder what they're going to do, but it was never really, and hasn't become a viable option to move to them. Yeah, I've never had an SD card fail or a CF card fail. I tell a lie, I think I had a CF card fail a long time ago. But one card slot is to me is a risk. I would live and sleep safely knowing that I'm backing up. And actually, when you tell a wedding client that I've got 2 memory cards I'm going to, so your wedding images are pretty much safe no matter what, unless you drop your camera into a pond or something, or both cards fail at exactly the same time, which is going to be highly unlikely. That's a bit of reassurance for them as well. You know, if you're shooting with one card and that's the only thing you're writing to, I always tell our wedding clients when we meet them and have a chat with them, we've got professional gear, we're using good stuff, and we're backing up to, shoot, so you're not going to lose any of your wedding images. That was just a quick me chatting about what we're doing while we've moved. We've got some product reviews coming up. People have been asking us to review some things. We've got a field monitor we're going to look at reviewing, and a backpack someone's asked us to review. So look out for those, and look out for our journey developing and getting better with the Sonys. And we're going to look to probably do some camera setups, to show you how we're setting up and using the Sonys, and things like that. As always, thanks for subscribing, like, comment, We always try and comment back, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you very much. I've been Ben, and you've been watching The Photography Team.